What is going on, everybody? It's Alex. Come back in another video, and today we're going to be doing the New York Giants way too early records predictions. Hope you all enjoy this series. Obviously, I haven't gotten any feedback yet since I'm going to be filming a couple of these in a bunch. My parents are in town, so again, I hope you guys do enjoy this series. Please give me feedback. I always want that. I want to make some more fun shit for y'all. All right, so let's kick off with it. We're going to talk about the team really quick, and then we're going to get going into the records predictions because we've already lost 2 games. Obviously, if you guys haven't seen it already, we did the Dallas video today, which is, no, technically yesterday on this video. You never know. I might post a couple of days just to splurge y'all, but for now, I think that we are already down 2 games because I think Dallas, they just have a superior team, especially with Micah Parsons being able to lift them up quite a bit. And I just don't have as much faith in Daniel Jones. And I have more faith in what most people do in Daniel Jones. I just don't have enough faith to beat a fully healthy, that's the key here, fully healthy Dallas squad. So again, we are always assuming full healthiness because that's too much variability. I mean, that would just be ridiculous if I started trying to predict which teams would be healthy or not. So let's talk about the team. Obviously, we got sports track right here, but we're going to quickly talk about the quarterback position, which we don't have to check the roster for, and that's going to be Mac Jones. Oh my God, Daniel Jones. I think even Mac Jones, who I'm against, is a little bit better right now. But Daniel Jones, we got to talk about him. So he has a lot of potential. There's a reason he was taking number 6 overall. I was never in on him. A lot of the NFL wasn't. In that preseason game, like, man, he looked good. Obviously, we are going to be closing that down. He has understood potential. He does fumble a lot, throws interceptions. There's just some major issues with his game that have not taken a jump, and this year it definitely could. But I really feel like they're trying to build for the future in terms of they really want to end up preparing for their next quarterback. And to me, I mean, I honestly love the idea of them getting extra first to get Cadarius Tony, but I still thought they should have went Rashawn Slater and put him in at guard or used him at tackle if they wanted him to. But I think that they're preparing to move on from Daniel Jones, and they're just trying to use Daniel Jones as kind of the Trojan horse to get a new franchise guy and just look semi-competent. Plus, if it works out, well, you have a great team, and then you'd have a quarterback, right? But Daniel Jones, just there's too many stupid mistakes at this point in the game. Obviously, the kid's young, but this is an NFL. It stands for not for long. So you just gotta you have to understand that that's the way that this NFL works. So let's talk about the rest of the team. Running back, again, assuming full healthiness, you got Saquon Barkley and obviously Saquon. I call him Saquads, but he has a backup in Devin Booker as well. I just don't know if Saquon's ever going to play the same. Injury after injury, he just doesn't play the same. Again, assuming full healthiness, that's fine, but we can't discount the fact he's been injured and how that might affect his game. It's an interesting one. It's an interesting thing to think about. So hopefully he can play at his high level, but I'm going to assume he's going to play at 80% of what he was at his best, which is still really damn good, maybe a top 10 running back in the NFL. Again, you just have to see how he comes back. Maybe he'll prove me wrong. That's why I'm perfectly fine with it. I love watching Saquon Barkley eat it up. But for now, we're going to assume that. Obviously, yeah, again, we got Devontae Booker as a backup trying to find it really quickly, and that's good. Gary Brightwell, I don't remember where he's from, but I've heard some good things about him. But, man, the running back depth is pretty poor. So that's something I think I hope that they continue to sign more running backs in the offseason. Maybe after, like, the rookies are cut after the preseason, they can get some more guys on the roster. But for now, it's looking a little grim right there. Looking at the wide receiver corps, this is the whole entire reason why people think that they can do anything. You got Kenny Golladay, monster signing. Sterling Shepard, really good. They got Dante Pettis. Interesting. You guys have to let me know how they got Dante Pettis from, I believe, the 49ers. They might have swooped him up if they cut him. But regardless, still an interesting guy. Darius Slayton, he's been showing up to be a really nice deep threat. I believe he was out of Auburn. I was actually a big fan of Darius Slayton. I didn't realize it, but I just started looking back at my first ever sheet where I wrote down guys who I liked. Darius Slayton was on that list. So I was like, hey, cheers. John Ross, another pretty interesting signing. He's probably not going to do much, but hey, you can always hope, right? And then, of course, we have to talk about Cadarius Tony. who is a beast. I have him 23 on my board. I love this receiving core. I don't think it fits what you run with. I keep thinking Mac Jones, Daniel Jones. I really don't think I don't think it fits. For some reason, it just doesn't feel like Daniel Jones will make this wide receiver core look as good as it should. I don't know, just a personal feeling, but I think that they're just preparing to move on for another target. And to be honest, I think I already know who that target is, and that's Matt Corral next year. Former high school quarterback of mine, and somebody who is he's pretty familiar with the type of wide receiver squad like this. So you heard it from me first, but I think that that's probably the way that they're trying to lean for this next year. Obviously, tight end core, they have a solid one, maybe not great. Obviously, we have two Kyle Rudolphs on the team. Of course, we don't. They just probably did that for some stupid reason, maybe a cap situation. It's easier to calculate this way. Beats me. But Evan Ingram, somebody who never fully lived up to his potential, but still has some type of talent. And then you got Levine Toilolo, obviously. He's definitely a solid backup, 6'8". Next, we got to look at the tackles, right? Got Andrew Thomas here, number 4 overall selection a year and a half ago. And then Matt Peart, who I was a huge fan of out of Connecticut. Huge fan. I love Matt Peart. So I think those are two excellent tackles. I think they should be starting. Don't know why they have Chad Slade here. I believe, are they bringing back Nate Solder? They are. So Nate Solder's in the mix as well. So obviously, I think that one of these guys are going to be moving to right tackle. I think Andrew Thomas will probably be the guy moving for the time being. Or they're going to be cutting Nate Solder. We don't know. But for the time being, we're going to assume that Nate Solder stays on the squad. They have a pretty solid offensive line, but they have a big hole at guard, and I would not put Matt Peart or Andrew Thomas there. I think it's a waste of their talent. Again, personally, I think that Solder's going to be gone, and they're going to have a bit of a hole at that guard spot. But looking at the guards, speaking of, we got Will Hernandez. Nick Gates, I believe, plays center. And then, it's not a pretty picture at that right guard spot. Losing Zeitler really hurts. And that's why I'm pretty low on the squad because, again, you got to run the ball, and you lost your best lineman for one. You lost the best guy in your squad. And then you also have Daniel Jones who fumbles. And you're having immediate pressure up that guard spot. It's a hard one to wrap my head around. I really hope that they can bring on a talented guard there. But that's the offense, guys. Obviously, we got center. Nick Gates was the one playing center. Don't think any of these guys will be. But let's check out the defense, it was the best part of the team last year. And funnily enough, it's the best part of the team this year as well. So let's just take a quick look at the defensive front. Trying to find the defensive line here. Obviously, they run, I believe, a 3-4, given the fact that I'm looking at certain players being out at outside linebacker. That's usually not something that Sports Track really does unless they're running a 3-4, which you guys might be running a hybrid scheme. You guys can always inform me on that because that's something I'm still developing on. But the defensive front, it's great. Dexter Lawrence, BJ Hill, you got Danny Shelton here as well. I mean, that's a pretty good defensive interior right there. You got Leonard Williams as well. That squad is just unbelievable. I think you overpaid for Leonard Williams quite a bit, but it's Gettleman. Looking at the guys who are going to be rushing the passer, you got Lorenzo Carter here, who I don't know if he put on weight, but he certainly should not be in the same defensive spot as Leonard Williams. Remember him getting drafted out of Georgia a while ago. Wow, 3 years ago from this date, 4 years, 4-year contract, and it's coming up this year. That's insane to me. Obviously, when I saw them go after an amazing pickup in Azeez Ojulari in the draft, I realized that Carter's time was coming up, but they did a great job with that. Obviously, you got Oshane Ximines, who still has some talent. He was a first-round guy for Mel Kiper a while ago. Ryan Anderson, oh my God, what a steal from the Jets. Dude, I thought this guy was worth $11 million a year. You guys got him for 1.1. That's just crazy. And then in the draft, Ellerson Smith. Oh man, you guys aced the draft defensive-wise. Apart from getting Nate Robinson, which we'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, those are your linebacker positions. Obviously, you got Blake Martinez, Reggie Ragland. I was hoping that you guys could get an inside linebacker, but I would take Azeez Ojulari any day over Nick Bolton, and I liked Nick Bolton. So, big fan of this linebacking squad, apart from, of course, Reggie, who is okay. It's not bad, but the entire defense looks really good. Looking at the secondary, though, you got Julian Love here. I think that he's super talented. This corner safety hybrid, big fan of that. Obviously, there's strong safeties, Jabril Peppers. Don't know where he is on here. There we go. And then you guys got Xavier McKinney as well. You guys have a really good safety core. I'm starting to rethink that Dallas, looking at the Dallas games, I might give one to New York because this team is so good. But again, quarterback has so much value in this league. It's ridiculous. So looking at the corners, though, which is the one position we have failed to look at, that is going to be James Bradbury playing amazingly. Adoree Jackson playing great. Logan Ryan is depth, yes. Darnay Holmes, Rodarius Williams, like this is the exact opposite of the Cowboys. Like the linebacking core is okay. The pass rushing core is excellent. The defensive line is excellent. The cornerback core is excellent. Safety core, amazing. And then like the real holes on offense. So the defense is just the exact opposite. And then again, you guys do have Aaron Robinson, not Nate Robinson. Nate Robinson's knocked out cold still, but Aaron Robinson, which again, I don't understand it because Darnay Holmes played so well. So that's the idea. We're possibly going to be changing one of those games. Totally forgot about how stacked this roster is. Again, it's the whole entire reason why I continue going team after team in the division because it can change a lot of things going on. So let's get into it. Let's enjoy it. Starting off with the first game, we've got Denver going to New York, and it's Drew Lock. I'm just going to say that every single time Denver goes to a team that actually is competent. You know, I may not be a huge fan of Daniel Jones, but I'm surely not a big fan of Denver. I know SCU production is not going to like that, but oh well. Next, New York's going to Washington. This is a tough one, right? Because we don't know how Fitzmagic's going to be. Is he going to be Fitzmagic or Fitztragic? And both teams have a solid enough offensive line. Again, New York, I think, has a worse offensive line personally. Charles Leno just signing with Washington. And then Washington's defense is unreal, right? It's unbelievable. So it's a tough one. It's a tough one, really. And we're assuming full healthiness, but that defensive front versus a solid, not great, solid offensive line in prime time, I'm going to go Fitzmagic to light it up. I know, crazy, but that's the way I'm going to rock. Week 3, Atlanta versus New York. So I really need to study Atlanta's roster to make this official, but I'm not feeling Atlanta right now. They have an amazing, amazing receiving core, arguably the best in the NFL, with Matt Ryan, who's very competent. Running back core, solid enough. You know, it's pretty good. Then nothing to write home about. Obviously, Denver does have Javonte Williams. That's going to be the only thing that might win them a couple games. But Atlanta has a solid enough running back core. Javion Hawkins, somebody who I had like a 4th-round grade on. And then also Mike Davis, which is really good duo, but maybe not good for the NFL. Like, it's just like it's good enough, but that's not going to win you games against a nasty defensive front like New York and against an okay offensive line in Atlanta. I think that New York's going to be scraping out this game. Wait a second. Oh, this game was Washington. My bad. I messed up on that, guys. I'm sorry. Week 2 was Washington. You guys already commented that. So apologies. Number 4, New York is going to New Orleans. This is an interesting one because New Orleans, the offensive line isn't fully ready. I still think Andreas Pete is not great. Cesar Ruiz proved to not be great, but he could take a jump this year. There's definitely a lot of holes that I would fill. Cornerback is a big one. And the fact is that Paulson Adebo is not ready to guard Kenny Golladay, Cadarius Tony, Darius Slayton, not to mention, of course, Sterling Shepard. I think New York is going to be pulling out a W right here. Dallas is at home. We're going to leave the game as is. It's a really good matchup. I'm very excited to see these teams play each other. Dallas usually gets the best of New York in Jerry World, though. Week 6, Los Angeles in New York. This is going to be a fun one. Los Angeles, solid-ass defensive front. Weak linebackers. But New York's kind of weak in the tight end group in terms of actually like really solid talent. Because again, Evan Ingram has been underwhelming. And then we don't know about Kyle Rudolph in his future there. So we don't even know what's going to be happening at that point. But to be fair, the Rams have a really good cornerback core. The safety core is pretty good too. And the Rams have definitely invested a lot in their offense. It's just it's kind of tough to believe that that Tutu Atwell is going to be doing much, and that losing all your offensive linemen is going to be able to produce a better team. Also, losing your defensive coordinator, losing John Johnson. If you guys don't pick up where I'm going, talking pretty poorly about Los Angeles, who I think, excuse me, they're going to have a good year. A good year. Not great. We're choosing New York to have a big, big upset. And this is me, who I had New York going 3 wins. I don't think Daniel Jones is that great. But the rest of the team really is. I think Saquon Barkley, fully healthy, is going to be able to at least run away from Aaron Donald. And that's going to be able to at least mitigate that for the most part. And again, like, you have a bunch of young safeties, and then you don't have the same defensive coordinator. You lost your captain of your defense. There's going to be growing pains. Halfway through the season, I can see the Rams turning it on and winning the rest. But you lost Austin Blythe as well to Kansas City. And that's another big hit because we don't even know how Whitworth is going to return. That's going to be a topic for the Rams video, though. So number 7, week 7, Carolina, New York. Oh, man, it's hard to really give Sam Darnold any credit. Carolina has a good squad, man. They really do. The offensive line is not great, though. And the one thing New York has is an amazing pass rush. Sam Darnold's been under pressure his entire life. They have a good cornerback core as well, because Carolina's big feat is that they have an amazing wide receiver core. And then they have Christian McCaffrey, of course, as well. I'm pulling New York to win this one as well. I think this division is going to be a lot more competitive than what people think. That's all I'm going to say. Do we even have to talk about this? Kansas State's going to whoop New York. I don't really care. Tyreek Hill can outmatch any of the corners that they do have, even though the corners are solid. And then, it's a really solid offensive line. It's Patrick Mahomes. So the defense as well, much improved. So big fan of what Kansas State did in the offseason, because at first it was like, oh, you guys aren't going to win a Super Bowl ever again. And then all of a sudden they're just like, no, we are actually, we're still here. It's interesting. There's a wind outside. I was like, but yeah, I think Kansas City definitely turned it around. Vegas fully rested going to New York. I'm sorry, Vegas. You guys you screwed the pooch a little bit on your draft. Obviously, getting Trevon Merrick is an excellent addition, but I seriously have a hard time thinking Vegas is going to be able to compete with a team that's fully built like New York or Dallas. So New York's having a pretty favorable start to the season, but they're going up against Tampa Bay. We're choosing Tampa Bay every time. New York at home versus Philadelphia. The wind is strong in Texas, everybody. I think New York would be able to edge them out at home, but maybe not away. So we're going to be going New York right there. New York going to Miami. I think Miami's a lot different climate than New York at this time of year. And I think Tua's not going to give the ball away. Maybe not do too much himself, but I don't think Daniel Jones will either. I think Miami's going to be a sneaky candidate for having a pretty okay playoff entrance. A very low, similar to where they were this year, maybe one spot up in the draft at 19, skimming in to the playoffs this year. I think they're a force to be reckoned with because, again, they have Jacoby Brissett as well, so they can continue their exact offensive scheme and maybe add a little bit of mobility. I like what they're doing in Miami right now. Obviously, I want to see what they do with that offensive line because it was a weird, kind of terrible draft, but Miami still is a loaded roster. New York going to Los Angeles. Again, I think it's the same scenario where this is starting to get later in the year. New York is, the climate is just different. You guys are going to be like, Alex, the climate, really? Yes, that plays a big factor. Obviously, if you're in Los Angeles, the weather is totally different than New York. People, like the Chargers, have been practicing in that shit all the time. You guys have been practicing in snow, or you guys have been practicing in just a much different environment. And the Chargers are going to be at home. They're going to feel at home. It's going to be in a dome as well. So it's a bit different than MetLife. So I think the Chargers are one of my the main reason I'm going to be choosing this. They're one of my Super Bowl sneakers this year. I'm choosing the Chargers to win this one. Next, Dallas going to New York. This game I could definitely switch each way. I got to think about it. So we'll come back to that game. But for now, we're going to leave it as is, given the fact that I don't know if New York New York might go on a quick losing streak. Honestly, we're going to flip this game. New York's going to be winning at home. Home teams usually win the majority of the time. So apart from this year where the away team won a lot more, I think New York's going to be able to win at home at MetLife. Next, we got New York going to Philadelphia, where Philadelphia steals the cake. Week 17, New York going to Chicago. That is an interesting ass game because I don't know how well Chicago will do. Will you rush Justin Fields? You just lost your starting left and right tackles, and then you got Tevin Jenkins. So you still have a whole tackle against a team that's a really good pass rush. Oh, I'm choosing the Giants to upset. Really weird feeling, but I think Daniel Jones will be able to at least mitigate his terribleness enough to be able to, you know, take a nice step up. And with that, they're right now winning the division against Dallas, who went 9-8. Very interesting. I just think New York has a better defense. That's all. 18, Washington going to New York. So I think Washington's going to be able to pull out this one. They're going to be in a real playoff push. So I just think Washington's going to be a powerhouse this year, and we're going to be choosing it. They're not going to split. So that's the video, guys. Obviously, had that Dallas switch up right there. New York is leading the division, but I think that we all know that Washington, under the condition that Fitzmagic is Fitzmagic instead of Fitztragic, they're going to be potentially winning this division. Again, I think this division is a very underrated division. Like, remember, last year, the division was terrible. But you think about all the injuries. Most of the stars were out. Like, there was a lot of guys who opted out first, and then, like, Dallas's defense was all injured. Dallas's offense was pretty much all injured. And you're playing with Andy Dalton. And you guys somehow still almost made the playoffs. So ridiculous there. They might have made the playoffs. I'm bugging right now. But actually, no, they didn't. No, they had a high draft pick. But they were like a couple like games away from winning and going to the playoffs. Same thing with New York. And then Washington, now they have a quarterback, and they made the playoffs. So, yeah. The only team that's like a little bit questionable right now is Philadelphia, who had a good draft. They had a very good draft. But it's like, can you trust Jalen Hurts with the keys to the franchise yet? Don't know. You passed on Justin Fields. That was something else a little bit iffy on. So, with that being said, I'll see you all on the bar 7. Peace.